right here is go back. What we're gonna do right here is go back. Go back, go back, back, go back, go back, back, go back, go back, back.
Alright, welcome back to another Kuma style review. What we've got here is Bandai's Soul of Chogokin, their GX-39 Baikanfu. Alright, taking a look at the box here, you do see the different robots on the cover here, as well as, I like the layout of this with the squares and stuff like that up top. On the bottom, exact same thing, that's surprising. Alright, here you go. Alright. Not the most creative box in the world, but nice layout on the back here. Looking at the different features, some of the posability and whatnot. All the different characters included. Yeah, so overall good stuff. I'm excited to go ahead and open this guy up. Alright, now quick overview of what's in the box. It comes with Rom Stole, Leina Stole, Kenryu, and of course Baikanfu himself. Now the way that this set works, just like the original toy, is Rom Stole fits inside Kenryu, who fits inside Baikanfu. Now for this review, what I'm going to be doing, I'm actually going to not put him inside of him until the end. I'll just show it in the transformation segment because the posability of these does not change. But in the meantime, these do come with kinda body doubles. It's a little bit hard. These snap into place really tight, but just to give you an example, because they both have them, but they're almost like filler pieces, which fit inside of Kenryu and Baikanfu, these black pieces here, just so that they don't look completely hollow in between joints and things like that. Alright, so we'll get them off screen for a second, and normally I show the accessories here and it doesn't look like it comes with much of much. Go ahead and take Rom and Leina and put them on the ground. You've got the various swords, two different versions for Rom, as well as Kenryu shield, and that's going to need to come out anyway, and Baikanfu's sword. Alright, so this is cool. This is actually the coolest, or most cool, weapon storage system I've ever seen. Alright, so you've got this mountain type deal with spots for Rom and Leina to stand on, but it's actually 3 layered. So this first layer comes off, and it's all of the hands and alternate heads for Rom and Leina. And then, zooming back out, the bottom of this actually comes out. Now I'm not very good at this part, not gonna lie. Alright. And these are all of the hands for Kenryu, the blue ones, obviously, and Baikanfu, the big ones. So, that's an overview of what's in the box, and let's go ahead and get on reviewing the figures. Alright, so I wanted to go ahead and take a look at Leina and Rom in one, instead of doing separate ones, because they're the minifigures in this group, and their posability is about the same. Alright, so taking a look at their scale here, Leina's about 3 1/4, Rom 3 1/2. Alright, we went ahead and took a look at their alternate heads. Let's go ahead and put those on the ground here. Oops. And you'll see for Leina, she has a completely non-helmeted version of her head. And to switch it out, just pop that guy off the ball joint. Pop that on. And taking a look at, I'll zoom in here, but I don't want to put it on them. Just taking a look here at Rom's alternate head compared to his mass version. That's that. Alright, so now that I've knocked her down a couple of times, we'll take a look at Leina's posability. Her head on a ball joint. She also does have another rocker where her neck meets her chest. So pretty cool. Alright. Full movement in the shoulders. Not ball jointed, but it has swivels both ways. Okay. Now there is bicep swivel here. Double jointed elbows. She does have turn at the waist as well as ab crunch. It's minor though, so don't expect too much. Alright. Ball jointed thighs, thigh swivel, double jointed knees, and feet that are on ball joints along with individually posing front and back parts of the foot. So just popped it off of the ball joint there. And they're solid. The only thing that stinks is that these ball joints are so small that when you accidentally pop one out, it's a little bit of a hassle to put back in. And the whole reposing thing and everything like that. But overall, posable figure. Okay. Now Rom, a lot of the same. Ball jointed head. He doesn't have that spot where the neck meets the chest. No posability there. Shoulders are on ball joints. It's the shoulders themselves. As well as inward, outward, actual shoulder swivel. Swivel at the bicep. They are double jointed, but they don't really do too much. He still only gets a normal range of movement. Alright. Waist swivel, ab crunch, ball jointed thighs, thigh swivel, double jointed knees. And same as Leina in terms of the feet. Rocking ankles because of those ball joints, and separately posing front and back parts of the foot. Now, the way you pop out both their hands or switch them out is they just peg in. Alright? And I didn't talk about the wrist articulation. They both have swivel, but he has in and out motion with his wrist, where Leina does not. So just covering that real quick. But, okay. Alright, and their hands just peg into place, but just like the ball joints, they're really small. Okay. Oops. Looked away, accidentally turned them around, and I have no idea why. But okay, there's that. Now, he does come with the two versions of his sword, and we'll go ahead and just use the blue version. And what's nice about these, and this works the same way for Kenryu and Baikanfu as well, the swords actually get thicker as you go up the handle. So by the time you push it all the way down, it's a really tight fit. So I dig that. Alright, it encourages you to make them hold the sword properly. Alright, but just going ahead and putting him into a cool pose. And just like some of the other sets that I've reviewed, when it comes to minifigures, in the Soul of Chogokin, the Spec line, or SPC, the Tamashii Special products, you know, their minifigures are just as posable as their big figures, you know? It's awesome. It's incredibly awesome, the amount of care that they take when it comes to making sure that these play and pose just as well as anything else. So, yeah, awesome stuff. Now moving on to Kenryu. Right, and here's Kenryu. First off, I want to comment on how much diecast this thing has in them. It's not the biggest spot of the bunch. This one stands at what? Just under 7 inches, about 6 3/4. But they still went out of their way. All of this crotch plate area, diecast. This whole back, this blue part right here, diecast. Diecast here in the front. Diecast here where his head, neck rest or whatever. These calves, diecast. Feet, diecast. This is a whole lot of diecast for not being the main bot of the group. So, just very cool, very well done. And yeah, combining that with Baikanfu's diecast, it makes for a hefty combiner bot. But we'll go ahead and go more into that in the actual Gokin section. But anyways, looking at his posability, ball jointed head here. Alright. The arms can move forward. Okay. There's no bicep swivel. Which is unfortunate. Okay. Now, him and Baikanfu both are built kind of funny. They're made for a figure to go inside of them, so they really had to do some tricky engineering for them to have in and outward elbow swivel. So he has elbow swivel on the outside, and on the inside he has a whole separate swivel to make it swing inside. So you still get that full range of motion as if you could turn the bicep without actually turning the bicep. And then of course there is swivel at the wrist as well. Alright? Now this one does not have waist articulation. Now, this is the body double I was talking about. It actually pegs in. It has a hole right there. Pegs into an area right there. You can see when he does not have that body double in, and this counts for, actually, Rom stole as well. He does have a little bit of waist movement. But see what happens there? It completely just kind of, I don't know, discombobulates. It doesn't even look right. So its waist swivel is aesthetically worthless. Alright, so moving down, we looked at the waist. His legs can swing in and out. And you'll see that there's not an actual like thigh joint, but this swinging mechanic right here that lets it swing. And that's because of that leg having to fit in from Rom. Alright. Now, double jointed knees, which is cool. No loss of articulation there. He does have some swivel, but when you have a character inside there, he loses that. Alright. Now, ball jointed ankles. Really strong diecast joint even. And separate articulation at the feet. Okay. Now, for him and Baikanfu both, when it comes to their hands, they don't peg in. They're actually ball jointed. So, let's go ahead and take those guys out. And we'll put in his open fist. Alright, so let's pull out his sword. And if you haven't noticed, it's pretty much the same sword, but it gets bigger as you move into the bigger bots. Alright, so there's that. Zoom out a little bit. And he also has his shield, which just pegs into the front. Now, one thing that I didn't comment much on, they can move their arms outward when they're sitting straight down, but when they've got their arms swung up, that outward movement is lost, unfortunately. So that stinks, because you want to, especially with a shield and stuff like that, you don't want to have to put it, just straight forward, that kind of thing. You can turn his arm sideways a bit and kind of flub it, but that's not, I don't know, it's just not the best. So, flubbing out a pose. And see what I mean? How the shoulder covers now have to, and of course this is impossible when he has a character inside of him, but there you go. Alright? And that's Kenryu. Alright, and before we get into reviewing the final step of this process, Baikanfu, let's take a look at the transformation and combine them all together. Alright, so I'll start with this guy. Basically, you're just going to want to open them all up. They have, individual panels and things like that. Okay. And everything comes apart really nice. So you can basically work head to toe, opening everything up. Alright? So, this gets kind of funky. You put his arms up. Whoops. You put his arms up like so. Let me actually zoom in a little bit. Put his arms up. You want to make sure the side of his arm with the hole in it on each arm is facing outwards. Okay? So we're doing that on both sides. Now his double jointed elbows here actually come into play, because you kind of fold them up and then over. Like so. Up and then over. Okay? Then just make sure his fists are facing downwards, and the front of his feet, you just kind of fold upwards there. Alright? So you've got this business, and underneath Kenryu there are two tabs, and those holes in his arms actually peg in there, as well as a peg in his back that pegs in right here into the middle. So going ahead and finding that peg for his back first. Make sure that that's in. Then from there, his legs split, but you've got that kind of guard there to keep him in place. Alright, and you can actually close his legs up at that point. I like him as secure as possible, because trying to find the pegs for his arms is kind of funny. Alright. So there's that part. And you just find those pegs. Peg his arms in. And it's blatant once you got it. You just kind of have to fit his arms under. For whatever reason, this arm turned. Never had that happen before. So let's try that again. Alright, so we got that. We can close those over. And boom. Alright, there you have Kenryu with Rom inside of him. So the next part is, of course, getting Baikanfu ready. So a lot of it's the same as Kenryu, but he's a bit bigger. Alright. And I'll tell you guys what, do not, even if you have to just put in the body fillers, do something, because these are kind of flimsy, and with the heavy die cast and stuff like that, it's well worth having something in there just to stabilize them, even as much as filling them. So just like Rom, fold those front feet up. His arms are going to go out like so. And then what's nice is that they have those clips there for you to work with. So you kind of know everything just fits. Alright. And boom. Okay, his lower body's done. Zoom out a little bit. And just like we did with Kenryu himself, we're just going through and we're clipping everything back together now. Alright. Alright. Those biceps in place. And isn't it cool how it's engineered to just keep its posability and everything like that while they're inside of each other? It's really, really neat. Okay. So there's that. There's that. Okay. And we can just put that over. And boom. We have Baikanfu. Alright, now taking a look at Baikanfu here. First off, I want to go over the amount of diecast that he has. Pretty much his full legs diecast. Pretty much besides these plastic knee guards. So, it's nice. It's an awesome, just hefty, cold feeling. Full crotch plate here. Full, all of this is diecast. Alright, his arms, no diecast. Soul of no Gokin in the arms. So, that's a no-go, but like pretty much besides his head, his entire body here is diecast, which is crazy. And I showed you guys the amount of diecast inside of Kenryu as well. So, you can imagine those put together makes for a very just solid toy. And a hefty one at that. So, that's one thing that's cool about him. But one more look overall. Okay. Alright. Alright, now looking at the posability on this guy, the head is on a ball joint. Alright. Nice amount of up and down movement. I'm actually not impressed with the side-to-side movement. He basically doesn't have any at all. And I wish there was a way to extend the head around, but for whatever reason, that's what you saw is about as far as he can go. Now, when it comes to his arms, he's a lot like Kenryu in that he has to be engineered kind of tricky in order to get those movements. His shoulders can go in and out. They can go up and down here. But they can't do both at the same time. He loses that in and out movement now. Okay? Elbows are the same as Kenryu's. He has separate swivel for inside out, up and down. Legs can go out. That's the extent of that. Now when it comes to the forward and back swing, he does have forward swing, does have back swing. Not much, but it's there. And his knees, not double jointed, but he has it, which is awesome. Alright. And he does have ball jointed, huge feet. As well as, you see that? Ratcheting forward and back movement. for the whole thing. Alright? His front feet are articulated separately from his back feet. So yeah, overall, not the most poseable robot in the world. No waist swivel. Alright, just so you guys know in case you were wondering. But not too bad. Not super unposable. About what you'd expect from a toy that's engineered like this, you know. When it comes to fitting a toy inside of a toy inside of a toy, you really do lose a lot of options for posability, and I actually respect the amount that they did give him. Now going ahead and replacing his hands, these ones peg in and out, but the pegs themselves on the hand here or on the wrist, they are on ball joints in themselves. So we'll go ahead and give him an open hand here. I have no idea what kind of pose I'm going to be going for. He actually had his open fist on, so there was no point in me taking that off. Oops. Alright. And it is one of those pegs that's like thick then thin, then thick then thin. So you got to really jam it in there tight so it locks in place. And he does have his huge sword. Alright. So there's that. Moving the camera back some. Alright. One thing I didn't do was take an actual height of Baikanfu here. So let me do that. And he stands at head to toe just over 10 inches, like 10 and a quarter. So definitely a big figure with a lot of die cast in him. So you can see what I'm saying in that he's definitely not one that you want to just have hollow while you're playing around with him. Alright, so getting him into a decent pose here. Move this arm up. Oh yeah, he can't swivel, so of course I didn't peg the hand in tight enough. But yeah, definitely not going to win any awards or anything like that, but not unposable for his size at all, by any means. Alright, and I'm going to measure this just because it's the kind of stuff that I wonder when I'm viewing. I know I'm weird. But the blade of his sword measures to about 7 inches long. So definitely a big blade there. Alright, and that's Baikanfu. Looking at Baikanfu and Kenryu both, you will see an impressive amount of die cast, which makes for a really sturdy and hefty figure when put together. The most impressive part about these two, though, is the fact that the die cast is distributed on opposite parts, so that when they are combined, it actually makes for an even feel with that heft throughout the figure. Truly impressive. Alright, so final thoughts on Baikanfu. The set's pretty much amazing. I've been, I guess, kind of blessed in the sense that I got this for $140, and after shipping overseas it was $180 mint and complete. But this is one that I've seen selling for between easily $300 and $500 by itself. Now, price-wise, I can't justify spending it because the show that he is from, Machine Robo, I've definitely seen the anime and stuff like that, but I don't have that super attachment to where I'm a super fan, particularly of this mecha in particular. So I can't justify paying those kind of secondary market prices, but in the sense of what you get, I can see where it's worth it. Because this toy, like Kenryu and Baikanfu each, have way more die cast in them than most Soul of Chogokin toys that I've gotten for sure. The amount of posability in them, the advanced engineering to keep that posability while having, you know, one character inside of another character inside of another character, it's something that I'd recommend buying just to check out in and of itself. Overall, it's a great set. Glad to have it. I definitely recommend it, but at the same time, I wouldn't recommend paying most secondary market prices. Wait it out, see if you can find a deal. It's a great figure to have. If you're a fan, it's a must-have figure. But for the average, mecha collector, this isn't one that I'm going to say, spend exorbitant amounts of money on. But anyway, this has been another Kuma Style review. Once again, this is Bandai's Soul of Chogokin GX-39 Baikanfu. Thanks for watching this review, and see you guys next time.